What's up, Team 703? Today is Monday, April 13th. We are now on week 4 of no school due to the very ongoing coronavirus. So I hope you guys had a really good Easter. Happy Easter to everyone. Over here, we just did the typical thing. We had 2 or 3 Easter egg hunts. We painted some bunnies. We drew with sidewalk chalk. And yesterday morning, we streamed our service, our church service. We go to Life Point in Westerville online. So that was definitely a unique experience. Last week I kind of shared what my spring break was like. I'm not going to do that this week because it honestly feels like I do the same thing every day. So that would be pretty boring. Instead, I'm going to share something about my dog that I've noticed. Here's a picture of my dog Mia. She's 9 years old. She's an Australian Shepherd. She's actually a mini Australian Shepherd. So she turned 9 this week, so we had her a little birthday party. And that's like 50 or 60 in dog years, so that's interesting. I realized that I've never spent this much time with my dog before. Even in the summer, we're going places and we're going out to dinner or we're doing things. So I've never spent this much time with my dog. And what I've realized through these 5 weeks of quarantine is that my dog sleeps everywhere. So here's a 30-second montage of literally my dog sleeping everywhere. Okay, let's get back to the topic at hand, and that's social studies. So last week, you only had one task, and that task was the Magna Carta. I'm hoping that you all got to that. It's important that you stay on your task. I'm going to start putting grades in for social studies this week, so you don't want to see any zeros next to your name. So the Magna Carta, the signing of the Magna Carta really was a monumental event in history. Your task was to watch the brain pop over the Magna Carta, record your score on the Google slide, and then click through several slides and answer the questions that followed. You also were to look at 3 clauses or sort of parts or sections of the Magna Carta and then answer a few questions of what the Magna Carta was really talking about in those clauses. If you haven't done so, please submit that by Friday, April 17th. That's when I'll start putting grades in for that assignment. Now, this week, just like last, you will only have one task. Now, I think we can all honestly say that this quarantine is affecting us. It's having a big effect on us, both mentally and physically. 5 weeks of being stuck at home, especially when the weather is bad outside, it can really mess with you. Like I said, it can mess with you mentally and physically. So this week, you're going to be doing something a little bit different. You're going to be writing a letter to yourself. It's kind of like a time capsule, if you know what a time capsule is. We did one when I was in elementary school. A time capsule is you put a bunch of items in a sealed thing, a sealed container, you bury it into the ground, then you open it 10 years later. This, you're literally living through history. You're going to be talking about this for the rest of your lives. When you're in college and when you're into your mid-20s, upper 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, for the entirety of your life, you will be talking about this coronavirus. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be writing a letter to yourself as a graduating senior. You are only 5 years away from being done with school as far as your high school experience is concerned. So you're going to write a letter to yourself. You're going to write a letter about how much your life has changed, because it has, drastically. So when you're writing this letter, be mindful. And also remember that this is confidential. You're going to write about how your life has changed, but no one else is going to read this. You're going to write about what are you going through as a 12 or 13-year-old during this pandemic. What has changed the most about your life? I want you to tell me about schools closing and businesses closing, and are we taking the right steps, as a community, as an Ohioan, as a U.S. citizen? What do you miss most about life? My wife and I will just talk randomly about things that we miss, and sometimes it's big things, but sometimes it's just little small things. So I really would like to hear about some of the things that you miss most and how much your life has changed. And I want you to talk a little bit about when you think life will come back to normal. Is it ever going to be normal again? When are we going to resume society? Think about in the fall. Are we going to come back to school? Are we going to have your typical Friday night football and your your normal goings on of the start of a school year. Are we coming back to school? What do you think is going to happen? So this should be a 3-paragraph letter to yourself, and I want you to be reflective, and I want you to try to enjoy writing about how much drastically your life has changed and what you miss most about your life from 5 weeks ago to now. Okay, that assignment will be due in 2 weeks. All right, last week I gave you some tips for the week. I said some things like getting outside and making a schedule for yourself. Here's some tips for this week. Number 1, I want you to try this week to learn a new skill. Now, it could be something as simple as learning how to cook or fixing something that's broken around the house, or helping build something, but I want you just to try something new, and it shouldn't be school related. So non-school related, try something new. I'll give you an example. I'm now learning how to build a paver patio, and it's extremely complicated and it's taking a lot of time, but I'm learning things that I never knew before that is not school related. Number 2, keep your brain sharp. So what that means is do something like a puzzle, or play some trivia games, some Sudoku games, some crossword puzzles, some word hunts. Do something to keep your brain sharp that is not school related. And finally, another thing as far as exercise is concerned, I want you to try to think about, can you track your steps? Do you have a way to track your steps daily, or try a new exercise, or try something new physically that you haven't done? An example, my wife just bought a bunch of Zumba CDs, so we've been trying Zumba, and I've been failing. It's like hip-hop dance. I've been doing really bad on it. So those are my tips for the week. I'll check in with you guys next week. Keep on keeping on. Hang in there. I miss you guys, and I hope to see you soon. Have a good week, guys.